we're going to go ahead and open up the class. We're going to have an opening prayer. Give me the first song. Try the first song.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly.
Nor standeth in the way of sinners.
Nor standeth in the way of sinners.
Nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful.
Nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful.
But his delight is in the law of Yahudah.
But his delight is in the law of Yahudah.
And in his law doth he meditate day and night.
And in his law doth he meditate day and night.
And he shall be like a tree.
And he shall be like a tree.
Planted by the rivers of water.
Planted by the rivers of water.
That bringeth forth his fruit in his season.
That bringeth forth his fruit in his season.
His leaf also shall not wither.
His leaf also shall not wither.
And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
The ungodly are not so.
The ungodly are not so.
But are like the chaff.
But are like the chaff.
Which the wind driveth away.
Which the wind driveth away.
Therefore the ungodly shall not stand.
Therefore the ungodly shall not stand
in the judgment.
In the judgment.
Nor sinners in the congregation.
Nor sinners in the congregation.
Of the righteous.
Of the righteous.
For Yahudah knoweth the way of the righteous.
For Yahudah knoweth the way of the righteous.
But the way of the ungodly shall perish.
But the way of the ungodly shall perish.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
No, just checking out. Lost one last week.
Ooh, wee.
Yeah, I never did find
I felt so bad one day. I was on my way home from work, and I could take a bus to the train, and take the train out south.
Right.
Once I got to the train, I was just like,
missing a friend.
what am I freaking? Then I got on that train with the other way.
I'm gonna order some more.
All right. Once again, I just want to open up by giving thanks and praise, honor, and glory to Yahuwah, the Heavenly Father, the Elohim of Abraham, Yishkak Yaakov, for once again giving us one of his delightful holy Shabbat days that we can partake in and understanding the importance of it, the significance of it, and to be one of the few that he has selected to actually understand that we are to keep it in all our dwellings. And it's a great blessing for me to have the privilege of being able to teach his holy word, as I'm sure is a privilege for you to be a student of the word, because that puts you in a very rare category, because most of the world is in darkness or gross darkness, as we read in Isaiah the 60th chapter. They have no idea about how to serve the Creator. You got many false beliefs out there, false deities, false teachers, and they're all leading the people astray. And that's millions and millions of people, specifically our so-called people, Israel, the people who are in gross darkness, probably more than anybody else, are the people who are supposed to be the light for the world. If we go into Ezekiel 37, the Most High calls his people the valley of dry bones. So it's a very significant thing when the Most High decides that he's going to give his knowledge to someone. It's just something you should take lightly. It's a privilege, and it's something that you should cherish and honor and feel humble as a result. It's not something to make you feel better than or look down on someone else who may not know. It's something for you to fear and walk humbly before the Most High, because he gives and he takes away. If you walk away from him, he'll walk away from you. So a lot of people, they get to a certain level of understanding, and then they decide they know enough to where they can kind of start veering off away from what the Most High is saying. Even though initially they may have walked on the path, but after a while, they start getting complacent with their own understanding. And that's why in Proverbs we read that you should not lean on your own understanding. You should always make sure that you keep yourself humble, because that's what the Most High requires. He doesn't require someone to get to the point where they think they know it all, or that they're too arrogant, or that they think that somehow they deserve something that maybe they are only getting because of the mercy of the Most High. So these are some of the things that you begin to realize as your knowledge increases and as you begin to continue to walk this journey, is you see how precious it is, and then you start looking at it from the point of view of, this is just the Most High's mercy. You know, it's Him giving you. Now, obviously, you have to be a willing participant. You know, the Most High can only reach you when you yourself have to have the humility and the ability to be humble to understand this stuff. You can't just get it by not first working on yourself. And it's still a constant job. You know, even if you get to the point where you, just like you guys being in this class for almost 2 years, it's putting you in a whole nother category as far as advanced knowledge that you have, but that should only keep you humble on your path. You know, it shouldn't get to the point where it says, oh, well, look how far I am beyond other people, or something like that, which is true. You know, you are, in the things that you've been privileged to learn that the Most High has given you in this class, does put you in a category even aside from other Israelites. You know, aside from other people who are so-called in the truth. I mean, just take, for example, the people you left at the old class. Look how much you know compared to them. You know, there's no comparison. You're light years ahead. And these people are, and they at least know who they are. The average dead Jacob, as we call them, don't even know that. So that gives you an idea as to how far the Most High has allowed you to come. So that should make you feel humble, not feeling, oh, like, you're so great. You know, you should feel like, and even me as a teacher, I use it as something to be humble about. You know, I don't make it seem like that's something that makes me so great or something like that, because I know it's all based on the mercy of the Most High. And you have to be a participant, just like when we read in Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. In fact, let's get that real quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy 7th chapter. And we're going to see that how the Most High's mercy works. And I love this chapter because it is very clear how the Most High operates when it comes to His mercy. A lot of people, unfortunately, in these false religious systems such as Christianity, they think that they get the Most High's mercy just for showing up. They think just for going to a church or listening to some pastor or tithing, which they're not even tithing. I hate to even use the word tithing. You know, I mean, they're just getting pimped. You know, those people. They're not tithing, because we know what tithing really is. You know, I've taught that a few times in this class about what the actual tithe is and the purpose of the tithe and where a tithe is supposed to be given. So these people are not tithing, but at the same time, they think that these things are something that's going to ingratiate them with the Creator. And we're going to see that that's not the case. So let's read, let's start at the 7th verse, 7 and 7.
Yahudah did not set His love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people.
So He's talking to His people, and He's letting you know that you're not special to Him because you are so much in number. He doesn't go like what man does as far as population. You know, they want things to be a populist thing, popular. You know, oh, it's the most people with this particular opinion. You know, if being popular was what He was looking for, then yeah, He would support the Christians, because most of our people are Christians. So obviously the Most High is not about numbers. He doesn't care about how many people there are or how many people believe a certain thing. He didn't choose even His own people for that. But continue.
For ye were the fewest of all people.
So He said we were the fewest of all people. So obviously numbers doesn't mean anything. In fact, when we read the scriptures, throughout the scriptures, we know He always is talking about a remnant. He's always talking about a very small number. He's never been an Elohim that's dealing with numbers. You know, he doesn't think like he says, his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. He changes not. So we're not consumed. He doesn't look at things the way man looks at things. So he's saying, you're the fewest people, so, you know, I didn't choose you because of your numbers. Continue.
But because Yahuwah loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers.
Yeah, so he put his love on his people automatically because he made an oath with our forefathers, and he said he's going to keep that oath. And he set his love on us. But unfortunately, our people have put themselves at odds with that. So they caused him to remove that. So much so that he has to now, as we're going to read down, he has to target his love, even though he wants to love his people automatically. But some of our people have rejected him to the point where he can't deal with them. So he has to deal with the ones that we're going to read coming up. Continue.
Hath Yahuwah brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore that Yahuwah thy Elohim, he is Elohim.
Yeah, he is Elohim.
The faithful Elohim.
He's the faithful Elohim, so that means that whatever he says he's going to do, he does it. Hold on. He doesn't just make promises and then goes back on it. His word means something. He doesn't just say stuff, say he's going to do something and then doesn't do it. So we can learn from that. You know, and that's why I know with me personally, that's why I don't get along with a lot of Israelites out there, because they don't keep their word. They say stuff and they don't do it. They're not faithful. It's not about being faithful to me or some other person. It's about being faithful to your word. Saying something that and then making it happen. That's what this is about. You see, when we look at the Most High and his characteristics, we can learn from that. We can emulate that. You know, that's the point of us understanding his word. Not to just look at it and then still do what we think is right, or try to follow our own heart, because that's going to get us snagged and put in snares every time. You know, when you just fall away from what he's actually saying and walking your own path. So when you look at what he says, he's faithful. And there's nobody even to hold him accountable. Right, who going to hold him accountable? But he still keeps his word. So what about a Negro who is going to be held accountable by the Creator, and they still don't keep their word? I mean, how bad is that? That's horrible. So, but continue.
Which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him.
That what?
Which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him.
To him that love him. So now he's being specific. Because remember we read earlier, he was saying that he loved his people. That's why he chose them. So he came with love to begin with. But his people rejected it. So now he's saying, look, okay, let me give you an example. Just like, remember when Adam was first put in the Garden of Eden? He had paradise already, right? But because of his sin, what happened? The Most High took him out the garden. He started. What did he do with the lifespans? But initially, what did he do? First, what was didn't he give them a longer lifespan at first? But because of them, what happened? They shortened it. So the Most High responds to you based on you. So initially, all of Israel would have been unconditionally receiving this love and his blessing, just like when he came to Abraham and set up that covenant. None of us was there. We fell under that, and then that love and mercy came down on us unconditionally. But because we walked away from it, then now the Most High is saying, now I'm going to read that part again.
Which keepeth covenant and mercy.
Now you're going to keep the covenant. Now you're not just under the covenant just because you're a descendant of Abraham and you're an Israelite. He said he's going to keep the covenant with those who what?
That love him.
So that's a condition now. So now you got to love him and do what?
And keep his commandments.
And keep his commandments. Because if all of our people did it, then we would have all been keeping the law, statute, judgment, commandments anyway. We would never got kicked out the land. Because it's systematically, we would have been born into that situation. So all we would have had to do was just keep, just live. Because we would have already been living under the law. But because he knew that it was going to turn out the way it did, he has to make it more specific. He says, look, I'm going to have mercy, and I'm going to keep the covenant on those who love me and keep my commandments. So that's how you deal with the Most High, as far as if you want mercy from him, if you want love from him, if you want all these things that people claim that they're under the grace of the Most High, or whatever they say in Christianity. Well, if you're not doing this, if you don't love it, and a lot of people don't love the Most High. When you think about it, they don't love him. Because why? I love how these two work together. This is like oxygen and hydrogen. You know, they bond together. Loving the Most High and keeping his commandments. Because you can't do one without the other. If you call yourself loving the more, now you can call yourself loving Christ, and you don't have to keep the commandments. But you ain't loving him. You ain't loving Yahuwah. In fact, you're in opposition to Yahuwah. But yeah, you can love Christ all day and not keep the commandments. In fact, in order for you to love Christ, you have to be breaking the commandments.
Right.
By virtue of loving Christ, you breaking the commandments.
Exactly.
You breaking the first commandment.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So the point is, these people have deceived themselves into thinking that they are serving Christ, when in actuality, serving the Most High, but in actuality, they're serving a lie. They're serving Christ. So, and like I said, on the opposite side of that, you can't keep the commandments without loving the Most High. As I said, you can't love the Most High without keeping his commandments, and you can't keep his commandments without loving him. Because at some point, you're going to fall off. You might be able to put up a front for a minute, even if you know, because you might be going through the motions, because some people, they'll stay in it for a minute, but at some point, the Most High is going to test you. He's going to test you, you know, and then depending on how much faith you have with him, because he's faithful, depending on how much faith you have, you may not get through that test. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be tested. So you just have to understand that, and you have to bond with the Most High in the right way, not just put on the front. Because it's easy to put on the front. Most people put on fronts for other people. They act like they're about it, and they're not. Because they're just trying to either go along or get along. They're just putting up a front. They thinking they could, be slick. But you can't be slick with the Most High. So that's why I said, in order for you to really serve him and keep these commandments, you have to do it and love it. Keep the Sabbath. You have to really love it. Because otherwise, you're going to be looking for an excuse not to do it. You're going to be looking for a way out of it. You're going to be saying, oh, well, ain't nobody looking. I'm gonna go do this, what I want to do. You don't care that the Most High looking at you. So again, if you don't care what the Most High thinks, then how could you possibly say you love him? You understand? So that's what I mean by that. You have to make sure that you always keep yourself mindful of this. Because that's how you truly serve. This is the fundamental way that you truly serve the Most High. So anyway, just wanted to open up with that, giving thanks and praise to the Creator. Because he is good, he is merciful, and as we just read, he's faithful, and he shows his mercy, and keepeth his covenant with these conditions that are made, when you love him and keep his commandments. And to me, that's fair. That's perfect. That's the way it should be. He's not going to just give you unconditional love and keeping the covenant with you, and you're not keeping your end of the bargain. It just doesn't work that way. But people deceive themselves into that. But that's their problem. But if they understood this word, then they would understand how wrong they are, and they would start trying to change. So anyway, all praises to the Most High, Yahuwah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Also just want to get some other business out of the way before I get started. Regarding the break-in of the RV, a couple weeks ago, they found out how they got in. Back there in the corner, they jumped over that fence and pushed down, because there's barbed wire there. Somehow they pushed it down, so they saw that some of the wire was down, and then they put more wire out there and everything. So they kind of found out. They had him on camera too, but there's just a little. They couldn't see a lot of it, because I guess, just remember, he came in through the back. He also went into this other guy's RV. Remember when you said that the door was open? It had opened up. It looks like they broke, because you can't break my door like that. His door was made different. So I think you see that how the top. Yeah, I think they went in there, because we kind of looked in it. I know the guy who owns that one, and it looks like they may have taken his radio out of there too.
Wow.
So, but they figured out how they got in there, and then they got it. But like I said, I'm just keeping my alarm on now, because I got kind of comfortable, because nothing had happened. And you got to remember, it's still around Israel. Even though this particular little spot is kind of quiet for the most part, they see some because you can't see this from the street. So, or some people coming in here, they see this and they're like, "Oh man, it must be something in there of value." So you know how that should show how wicked Israel is right now. But again, I just want to give you an update on that. Hopefully, we won't experience that again. But again, whatever. I just think that that's the time that we're in. That's the sign of the times. But that's all the more reason that we have to just stay diligent in His Word. And people are always going to intrude on you. If you look at the scriptures and you understand, He didn't say that things were not going to happen to you. He just said that's how you deal with it. We go to Daniel 7:25. It says about that beast, and that beast system is going to make war with the saints and shall overcome them. So that means there's some things that are going to happen to us just because we're under that beast system. We're still under that fourth kingdom that we read about in Daniel, in Daniel 7 and Daniel 2. So, but anyway, at least they found out how the guy got in. They made measures to correct it, and for my situation and for our class, I'm just making sure that all the windows stay locked and that the alarm system's on, even though I have to come a little more frequent to check my battery levels, because by the alarm being on, it kind of drains the battery, because it's just sitting, It's not like I drive it or nothing, so you just got to watch out for that. But all praises to the Most High. As I said, nothing was really damaged or anything. So, but yeah, I just want to get that out of the way. As I mentioned last week, I think you guys have been with anticipation waiting for today's presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Who everybody been enthusiastic about it, or?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but it's all praise to the Most High. It's something that I recorded with Brother Yahudah Ben Yisrael actually about almost 2 years ago. I was actually in the other class, and I told, like the brother mentioned, remember when the guy over there canceled the class? That Sunday, it was on December 25th, 2011, and I met with the brother. I didn't just stay at home, that day just because he canceled the class. I still met with Brother Yahudah, and we sat down. We had a very great debate. It got heated here and there, as you're gonna hear, but particularly when we got into the day and night. Because like I said, this portion of it is just about 40 minutes. This was just like an introductory. Because we had that. Because I was over his house like prior to that, and we had brought up about the dietary law, and he was telling me about some of the things. He doesn't eat chicken. He doesn't eat turkey. He doesn't drink milk. He doesn't, So we kind of had a conversation that started before this debate, but then we kind of continued it, and I wanted to start off with that before we got into the meat of the discussion, which was about the day and night. And that debate probably was about 3 or 4 hours. So, but initially, again, like I said, I'll just go ahead and share with you guys. Like I said, I've been having it just kind of in the vault, so to speak. I didn't release it, but I think it is very informative, and I show, and I want you guys to hear stuff like this because, as I said, I want you to be aware of different perspectives. We're still dealing with the Most High's Word. We're still dealing with scriptures. We're dealing with different points of views. And when you listen to this, I want you to be objective. As I always say, I want you to be objective. I don't want you to just respect persons in judgment. Because, you're supposed to respect persons to a point where, because I am your teacher, so there's a certain amount of respect I'm supposed to get. But I don't want you to respect persons. Like, if he says something that you agree with, then agree with it. Or say why or whatever. Don't just jump on my side automatically. Hear him out. Hear out in both sides and weigh judgment. Okay? And what the protocol is going to be, as I'm playing it, if at any point you hear something that you want to talk about, you have a question or you got something you want to comment on that either I say or he says, I'll pause it and I'll recognize your hand. And you can make your comment, or if there's a scripture you want to go to, we'll do that. Because we may just go to the scriptures that we're going to be quoting in there. Like as we go into the scriptures in the debate, I may just have us turn to that scripture. Okay? But in the meantime, I just want you to understand that, pay close attention. As I said, you're going to hear some things you probably never heard, from this point of view. Some of you I made you aware of Yahudah already. So you may have already been familiar with him. You may have heard some of his things. But on this particular topic, I don't think you've heard some of the things he's going to say before. But again, I just want you to be objective. And, feel free to at any point raise your hand, because I may stop it myself if I want you to pay attention to something as well. But the main thing is I want you to just, listen to it, and it's very interesting. It's very, it's informative and it's entertaining. Because I listen to it, I think it's a good debate. It's not, like I said, it wasn't the bulk of what we talked about, but it's just a good intro to us getting into what we're going to talk about. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cue that up, and if you want to take your notes or whatever, that's fine too. But feel free at any time, as I said, just to raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Recording. Sitting here with my brother Yahudah on this Babylonian holiday, December 25th, 2011. And it's part of a two-part discussion. We're going to be talking about whether or not we can consume cow's milk initially, and then the bulk of the discussion is going to be regarding the 7-day Sabbath and when it begins, and also subsequently when the day begins. But first, as I said, brother, we're just going to continue where we left off. Last time I was here, you mentioned the fact that you didn't consume cow's milk, and you gave your reasoning based in Deuteronomy chapter 32, which it mentions about the butter of kine, milk of sheep, with the fat of lambs. So, and as I told you before, butter is obviously a byproduct of milk. So how is it that we can consume the cow itself and butter, which is a byproduct, but you feel that we can't consume
They
butter?
ain't got nothing to do with feel. Butter melts at room temperature. So you know it's going to melt at 98.6, which is the body temperature. So it's not going to clog the arteries. Milk has the makeup of it. It's got an ingredient called casein. And casein is what fills up the lungs in a human being and can create a lot of problems. That's why a lot of people are what they call milk intolerant, lactose intolerant.
But the people who are lactose intolerant, they can't consume any dairy. That would include butter, cheese, any of that stuff.
But the point being is, generally,
Oh, that's smacking you here. He's eating an apple, by the way, in case you were wondering. Yeah, he's sitting there, he's just sitting there eating an apple. So I just want you to be clear on that. I just wanted to point that out here because I knew you were going to hear him smacking. But yeah, like I said, there's some funny parts in this thing, but he cracks me up. But anyway, let's continue.
about the dietary laws of the Most High. So they're consuming other things that creates a lot of this problem. Right? Just like people they stop eating pork, but they still eating chicken. They still eating turkey. They still eating things that's unclean.
Right.
Okay?
Well, I mean, since you mentioned it, this, as I showed you last time, because your whole basis for saying that you didn't eat turkey was because you felt that
the Buzzard family, it's kind.
I've showed you proof that
I don't
it's not.
care what they say in that book.
But how can you
I
say
told you that. I don't care what they say
a
in that
turkey
book.
does not consume? It's not a scavenger.
Have you checked the characteristics of a turkey?
Yes.
You have?
I have.
You've seen one.
I've seen one.
Yeah.
I've been around turkeys, and I did the research on them. A turkey is in the pheasant family.
But I said,
A
you've
turkey
seen
buzzard.
a turkey and he will not eat anything.
A turkey.
You've seen that yourself.
No, I said that turkeys are domesticated birds they're not a turkey buzzard. A turkey buzzard
That's
is
not
in
what
the
I'm
condor
asking
family.
you, though. See,
Well,
first you said...
Well, have you seen a
said
turkey eat?
I told you that when I was here, when you were here before. I haven't observed the characteristics of a turkey.
Okay, so how can you be
I'm
clear?
going on what it says after its kind. They call it the turkey buzzard. It's in the buzzard family as far as I'm concerned. I don't care about what that book says, what it's in the pheasant family.
But you have
I'm not going by
you can't
that.
base it on your feelings.
I'm not going by feel. I'm going by what I see and what I understand. By say a turkey, and then when I look up turkey buzzard, just like you had the picture here when you came in
I got it
before,
right here.
and they both look alike. That's enough for me.
Well,
when in doubt, do without. I'm gonna do without.
That's your choice. Let me just say this real quick. I brought him a picture of. First of all, he said if they look alike, he'll do without and all that. A turkey buzzard does not look like a turkey. I encourage you to do your own research. And like I was trying to tell him, a turkey, even though this is not the topic, but he brought it up, so I mentioned it. A turkey is a domesticated bird. It's not like a turkey buzzard, which is a condor. And the reason why it's called a turkey buzzard is because the male of the species has a red head that looks like a turkey. And that's why they call it that. It has nothing to do, there's no relation. But he feels, well, it's called a turkey buzzard, so it's the same thing. No. They're two different types of birds altogether. Yeah, brother.
Earlier he mentioned about the milk, and
yeah, he's going to get back into that. That's the bulk of the discussion. But what were you saying?
well, I was going to say that I've never read in the law where milk was against the law of Elohim. But I can relate to what he's saying about the lactose intolerance. Like me personally, I don't drink milk because it makes me what do you call it, a mucus.
Right.
But I can eat butter.
Yeah.
And I can eat cheese.
Right.
You know.
We're going to get into all that. I'm going to continue. But the distinction that I'm making is that if you don't want to eat it, that's fine. But you can't make it the law.
No.
Right,
I never
right.
read
That's
it.
my whole basis for dealing with him.
Right.
Okay, but yeah, we're going to get into that, though. He's going to play it. But if you have any...
And I said this to other people. If you want to eat it, you eat it.
That's true.
That's fine with me.
But what I'm saying is you can't use the scriptures as a basis to say that. If you don't want to do it, this is look at it this way.
Again,
Just like
we
the
don't even
things-
see the turkey in scripture. We don't see the chicken.
You don't see a lot of things.
I said we don't see the turkey. We don't see the
He
chicken.
talks about the fowls that are clean and the
And
fowls that
I
are not
said to
clean.
you before, the chicken I know for a fact is a scavenger. I've observed that. Okay, I know
When have you
that.
seen a chicken eat a dead body?
A
Or
chicken
anything?
will eat anything. Okay, it's a scavenger. You don't take people in the South know this who raise chickens. You don't take a chicken up off the ground and eat it if you're concerned about what you're eating.
A chicken is in the same family as a pheasant.
That's what they tell you in that book.
But
you got.
that's what it is.
That's what they tell you in that book.
A turkey.
you got.
Let me break this down for you one more time.
You
A turkey-
already broke it
Hold
down.
on, let me
It
do it
doesn't make
again.
any difference what you say about that. I know what a chicken
Just
would
like
do.
when you're doing a turkey and you're trying to put a turkey in the same family as a turkey buzzard. That's just like taking a chicken and putting it in the same category as a chicken hawk just because it has a name, or a catfish saying that it's a cat because his name cat is in his name. The only reason why a turkey buzzard is named a turkey buzzard is because
Like
the
I
male, let
said to
me
you
finish.
before,
A male-
you can eat what you want, and anybody else can eat what they want.
I
I'm not
understand.
eating it. It's not going to make any difference what you say.
I'm just making for the record. I'm just letting you
It
know.
already was for the record. You just want it down on your tape recorder. That's fine with me.
No, I'm just saying. The fact of the matter is, a turkey buzzard is in the condor family. It is a bird of prey. It's a scavenger. A domesticated turkey is in the pheasant family. I like him, but he's a grumpy old man. If you do not want to eat a turkey, then that is perfectly fine. But you cannot use the scriptures as a basis to deny that. Just like getting back to the subject, when it comes to milk, you're taking this scripture, Deuteronomy 32,
Absolutely.
simply because it says butter of kine and the milk of sheep.
Absolutely.
Just because something is not mentioned doesn't mean it's prohibited.
Again, we know from reading some of the stuff you read from the same basic sources, and I know this for a fact. You drink cow's milk, it fills up the lungs. It creates mucus in the system. Okay? That mucus is not good. Okay? This is why you see children. That's why you see children, okay, filled with snot in their nose because they used to be fed milk. They got other stuff for them now. That's detrimental, okay? But milk clogs up the system. I know that for a fact. I used to drink milk. I used to eat milk, okay, and milk products. It clogs up the system. It creates constipation. That's not
for
good.
people who are lactose intolerant. Everybody who consumes
I
milk is
wasn't
not so.
considered lactose intolerant.
Well, I know personally I don't experience any of those symptoms when I
And you
consume
keep
milk.
drinking and eating milk.
But I'm just trying to show you that everybody's not biochemically the same, so you're gonna see different symptoms.
So therefore, like I said, listen.
Everybody
I've
can't
told
eat
you
beef.
before, okay? I've told you before. You can do what you want.
That goes without saying.
Okay? I'm dealing with this. It doesn't say milk of kind.
Okay, let me ask you this
It
question.
says butter.
Okay.
Butter has a total different consistency, a
According-
total different makeup than milk.
Okay, so since cheese is not mentioned here, can we consume cheese?
Not if it's made with cow's milk.
So, according to you,
Not
we
if
can't-
it's made with cow's milk. It's still
Watch this.
cow's milk. The same thing with ice cream.
Okay, so you're saying unequivocally we cannot consume cheese of kind. That's what you're saying, right?
How many times I gotta say it?
Okay. Well, I'm going to show you in the scriptures right now what you just said was incorrect. Can I show you that? Okay. You can turn here with me. We're going to go to... Second Samuel. 17th chapter.
Yeah, what's that when Abigail brought the food? No, that's beyond that.
No, we're going to turn it. Turn here with me. Second Samuel.
What chapter?
Chapter 17. And I'm going to read the 28th verse. Now this is according to our ancestor.
Mark.
Right. Our ancestor King David, this is what he consumed. I'm going to read this. He said, started 28th verse. Brought beds and basins and earthen vessels and wheat and barley and flour and parched corn and beans and lentils and parched pulse and honey and butter and sheep and cheese of kind.
I got it, Mark.
Okay, so I just asked you whether or not we can consume cheese of kind. You said absolutely no.
I said that right.
Okay, but you were incorrect.
Well, again, just because he ate it, that still doesn't make it that it was correct, does it? We know that they did certain things.
This was King David.
This was Governor David. Okay, I told you.
Regardless.
This was Governor David.
Whatever you want to call it. This was our ancestor David, a man after the Most High's own heart.
That's true.
Well, where does it say this was wrong?
Well, again, that's what I'm taking in 32nd chapter Deuteronomy.
But you're taking it out of context.
Well, that's what you say.
Well,
And we can disagree. No problem.
Well, again.
Like I said to you, here it is. People want to eat that. That's fine.
Yeah, but all I'm telling you, if you choose not to eat it, that's fine. But once you presume that it's in the scriptures, then you're
I'm
wrong.
not presuming. I'm telling you what it says over there in 32nd chapter.
But I'm showing you here where
And
we ate it. I can show you other. You want me to take you some other places?
It's plain place. You see, I got it marked.
I'm not saying you didn't have it marked. What I'm saying is that
I've seen it
there's a
before.
contradiction between what you told me and what's actually in the scriptures.
Well, again, we know that people did things that weren't correct back then, and maybe maybe they didn't have the knowledge of it insofar as exactly what it did back then.
So you're saying King David didn't know the law?
I can't say that.
So what are you
I can't say
So
that.
what are you saying?
Just what I just got through saying. We know that they did certain things that were incorrect. We know that.
But if he was following the law, he was doing it correctly, right?
Well, we know that he did certain things too that wasn't correct. It wasn't about the law. That's why it ended up being tortured the rest of his life.
Well, his sins were all numbered. The two sins that he
We
committed
know that,
were
right?
documented. And anytime King David committed a
That's
sin,
true.
okay, so how is this
Well,
counted as a sin?
we know that Rebecca sinned, but it's not documented.
Okay,
we
but-
know everybody sins, but we know all sins are sometimes are so insignificant per se they're not documented. We know that.
So in this case, the people were brought.
And I agree with you. It's again, you listen. It's here.
Yeah.
I know it's. You can see. I know it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I mean, I'm not quibbling with you about that. If people want to eat cow's cheese, people can do what they want. Okay.
Well, this is what I have a problem with what he just said. If we're dealing with the dietary law, it's not about what people can do what they want, right?
Right.
You have to show me unequivocally where it's wrong.
Right.
If you're going to leave it open like that, then it's not against the law.
Right.
You can't have it both ways. You can't slam people for doing it and then turn around and say, well, if they want to do it, they can do it. You can't do that, bro. You gotta, hey.
Sounds Christian.
Exactly, but the point is, and that's why, and like I said, I like Yahudah. You know, that's why I was saying, and when I'm trying to talk to the brothers like that, I'm not trying to make them look bad.
Right.
I'm trying to help them.
Right.
It's not like I'm trying to show how much smarter I am than him or nothing like that. Because like I said, I respect him. I learned a lot from him. That's why I took the time to try to show him where I feel he's in error, and that's why I brought him scriptures. But that's the key I want you to kind of pay attention to, that he kept saying, well, if they want to do it, they can do it. Well, again, brother, the Most High forbids certain things, and you can't leave it open like that. If you're telling me unequivocally that we can't eat it, then you have to leave it like that. Don't be like, well, if you want to eat it, you can eat it. What? No. Show me where it's wrong.
Deuteronomy chapter 32, you don't see it mentioned there.
Once again,
as something to be eaten.
But look, an omission is not a prohibition.
You don't see. Okay, so
an omission is not a prohibition.
But again, it doesn't mention. But again, right here, okay, well, but right here it doesn't say cheese from sheep. It doesn't say that, right?
It doesn't have to.
Okay.
So the bottom line is that which mentioned cheese of kind. It wasn't mentioned in Deuteronomy 32, but just because it's not mentioned in Deuteronomy 32.
Let's see.
Now pay attention to this part right here. Because now you want to start questioning this kind. Let's mention here, watch this. This is funny. Watch this.
For that spot and see what comes out.
It should be the same thing, but we'll look
Don't
it up.
tell me what it should. Look it up. You got your book. You see, you brought it today.
Yeah, I brought it.
We already had one right there. But I'm glad you brought yours.
Yeah, I brought mine just
in case you think I didn't tamper with mine and mine.
I didn't say nothing about that. I brought mine because I have certain things marked in mine.
I said, look it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just see what it comes out in the definition.
Okay. And if you want, you can look yours up too. But
it's going to say the same as yours, I'm sure. Both Strong's is also concordance.
Right. I mean, it's strong according to your logic. You feel I brought mine because
it's not according to my logic.
No, you just accuse me of saying, well, because I might not believe what yours say. That's the reason why I brought mine.
I didn't accuse you. I just made a statement, man. I was just being sarcastic.
Okay.
You know, just putting a little levity in it.
Okay. Well, let me show you specifically right here that in Deuteronomy 32 and 14, when it says butter of kind, the kind that's used is the number 1241. We can look it up if you want, but this is the exact same number for 2 Samuel 17:29, 1241.
Okay.
So it's the same exact kind. Okay. 1241 in Hebrew. Okay, so 1241 is bakar.
What's the
difference? Beef or animal of the ox kind, either gender, herd, beef, bull, cattle. Heifer, just like a cow. It basically is what it's saying. It's the same exact definition as over in Deuteronomy 32.
That's the whole definition?
That's the whole definition. Well, yeah, that's the whole definition. You just wanted to see whether or not it was the same word.
I want you to read the definition.
I read it. Okay.
That's the whole definition.
It says, from a beef or animal of the ox kind, of either gender, as used for plowing, a herd, beef, bull, calf, cow, cattle, heifer, herd, kind, ox. That's it. It's the exact same definition. Okay. So what was your point?
What was my point about what? I just said you look up there. Okay. I want you to I hadn't looked it up.
Okay. Well, we looked it up, and it's the exact same amount.
Okay.
Okay. So one says butter of kind, the other one says cheese of kind.
Okay.
Okay. So my point to you is that if you were going to make an assumption, you have to just make sure that you're distinguishing between your opinion and what's in the scriptures. Because clearly in the scriptures it does not have that type of distinction to say that we cannot consume cheese of kind or any other. And I'm going to show you where we consume milk as well. So I'm not done yet. But the reason why I'm showing you this is because I feel sometimes, Yahudah, that you presume.
Now you're going on what you presume.
Because I'm
talking
seeing
about what you feel.
But I just seen it right here.
But I also saw it in Deuteronomy 32 where it said milk of sheep.
Yes, but that doesn't
butter of kind.
Yes, butter, and I showed you cheese of kind. So that means we can consume butter and cheese.
If we were supposed to consume milk of kind, why would it say that? Why would it imply milk of sheep and butter of kine.
It's not implying anything.
Why wouldn't it say then milk of sheep kine, butter of sheep and kine? Why would it say
He
that?
doesn't have to say that, Yahudah.
Well, why doesn't it have to say that?
Because he doesn't have to.
Why doesn't it? He's giving you structure there in the 32nd chapter.
Let's see what our great
He
answer
says the pure blood of the grape, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else does it say in 32?
Well, let's go back and read it. I mean, so this right here.
Well, here, because I mean, the whole purpose in Deuteronomy was what? What was the whole purpose?
Look at the context of what he's saying.
But
right
what
here.
was the whole purpose in Deuteronomy?
There's a lot of purposes in Deuteronomy.
No. What was the purpose and the main purpose in Deuteronomy? When you go there, what did Yah say to Moses? He said, "You're getting ready to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And before you die, what did he want Moses to do?"
First of all, what
he wanted him to give them the law.
He been giving them the law.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You want to read it?
We can read it right now, but let's read it in its proper context.
I said you want to read it. He told him to give him the law again before he died.
Mm-hmm.
And before they crossed the Jordan. Give him that law one more time.
Okay.
Okay? And isn't this part of the law in the 32nd chapter of Deuteronomy?
But this isn't talking about the whole dietary law.
He's giving them the law. Okay? You're not going to see anything other than the milk. You're not going to see anything implied other than milk of sheep in Deuteronomy. Now, are you going to show me somewhere in Deuteronomy where it says that we can eat the milk of kine?
He doesn't have to say that.
No, he's giving them the law.
He's not giving them. Listen, let's read the context of what he's saying.
I'm going to read you the spot. Okay.
Let me read this, what we're talking about right now.
Read it.
So,
I'm going to read you the spot where he told them to give
did
them the
lead
law.
him, and there was no strange idol with him.
Mm-hmm.
He made him to ride on high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, that he made him to suck honey out of the rock. This is talking about prosperity, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, and milk of sheep with the fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape. All that's talking about is the prosperity that we had when he brought us into our land. He took us out of Egypt, and he's talking about the prosperity.
They wasn't in the land yet.
When he's talking about when he made us to ride upon the high places, he took us out from the Egyptians, out of the house of bondage.
They weren't in the land yet.
Right, but this is talking about prosperity. This has nothing to do with dietary law. You're taking this out of context.
You said Deuteronomy 12 and 14 doesn't have anything to do with dietary law either?
We're in 32.
But the whole book of Deuteronomy was about the law.
I'm not disputing. The whole Torah is the first 5 books.
Again, he told them, he says, give them the law again before you die and before they cross the Jordan.
Sure, but again, you're taking this particular scripture out of context, because this is only talking
That's how you see it.
But that's how it is.
To see it that way.
Okay, but this is only talking about the prosperity, about when he said he made us to ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, that he made him to suck honey out of the rock, oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, milk of sheep with the fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of the kidneys of wheat, and thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape. That is prosperity. But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked, thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook Elohim, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. So that's giving you the whole history of what we did. But the point of the matter is, he's talking about how he brought us to prosperity, and how we kicked and rejected him after all that. And this is just talking about the richness of the blessings. It's not a dietary law here. That's all that's describing, Yahudah. That was basically the end of it right there. Mm-hmm. But watch this.
You can pick it up in chapter 4, because that's when he starts giving them the law.
Okay.
I'm looking specifically when, because he's giving them the law the rest of the book.
I'm not
That's why in
disputing
chapter
that.
30 and chapter 32, at the back end of the chapter, he's telling them, I've laid before you life and death, blessing and cursing.
I know all of that. I know all of that. All I'm talking about is within the proper context, you have to read this.
So if you know all of that, why isn't this part of the law in Deuteronomy 32?
What do you? Well, first of all, this is not talking specifically about the dietary law. I read it in this context, and I told you why he said this. He's not telling us what we can and can't eat. He's talking about the blessings that he gave us before we kicked.
And he told us about what we ate, right?
He told us that in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14.
And it also goes into the future, does it not?
Yeah, but this is prosperity. This is not dietary law.
So, it's not making any sense what you're saying.
How is it not making sense? And that's what it's saying.
You're saying it's prosperity, but it's not dietary law. Why would he be telling us what we eat if it's not part of the law?
It's symbolic to what we eat.
But why would he be telling us what we ate and what we eat and what we're going to eat if it's not part of the law?
If you're going to take this that literal, when he
I'm taking everything literal.
Okay, hold on, that's the problem. You're taking it too literal.
Well, that's how you see it.
But look at what he said.
I don't see it that way.
He says that he made him to suck honey out of the rock. Mm-hmm. So we're supposed to go around sucking honey out of rocks?
That's symbolism.
The whole thing is symbolism.
But he's talking about honey. Don't we eat honey?
Yes, we do. But it's just like when he said a land flowing with milk and honey. When he says there's a land flowing with milk and honey, does that mean that there's milk and honey flowing everywhere? Is that what that means? Or is that to symbolize prosperity?
That's symbolizing prosperity.
So does this. This is all this is describing. He's talking about the prosperity that we
you're
get.
saying that we don't drink the pure blood of the grape?
I'm not saying that, Yahudah. What I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
I'm saying
you can't have it one way on one hand and then have it something on another. You can't say he's talking about only prosperity in one spot and then you're saying he's not talking about prosperity in another spot.
I'm not saying
I just asked you, don't we drink the pure blood of the grape?
That's not the question based on this.
That's the question.
You know we drink the blood of the grape.
Okay, then.
But does this mean that? We also eat milk and honey, right? But does that mean that the land is flowing with milk and honey? Does that mean that that's all that's here?
Particular spot, right there what he said, is prosperity.
This is too. How is this not prosperity when that's
what you're saying is you don't drink the pure blood of the grape? See, what you said is, what you just said was, you said, so the land is actually flowing with milk and honey? That's symbolizing prosperity.
So is this.
But so what you saying is we don't drink. You just asked me. You just asked me. Is the land actually? Do we drink honey out of a rock? And then you just asked me.
I did ask you that because
and I said no.
Literal.
I said no. We don't drink honey out of the rock. Mm-hmm. That is talking about prosperity overall.
Okay,
that line. But don't we drink the pure blood of the grape?
We do that.
Don't we eat the butter of a kind?
We do.
We eat pure butter, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Okay, then.
Yes, we do.
Can we drink the milk of sheep?
Yes.
Don't we eat the flesh of oxen? Oxen and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
That he named their animals?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And he only named the clean animals. He didn't name swine.
Well, okay.
Right? So therefore my point is that's part of the diet, is it not?
Of course, but
that's all I'm saying.
Okay,
but you're denying that initially. You're saying that's not part of the law.
I'm not saying
You're saying that's all symbolic.
See, this is what you're doing. You're taking what's mentioned here to mean that this is the only thing that we can consume. There's also fish of the sea that we can eat, is it not? But he doesn't mention any.
That's part of the land flowing with milk and honey.
Hold on.
And that's what he covered over there in the dietary law.
If simply because something's not mentioned.
That in Leviticus 11?
That was the dietary law.
But didn't he cover that in Leviticus 11?
Yeah, but it's not covered here though.
Okay.
Okay, so if your point is just because something's not mentioned that we can't consume it, that's clearly wrong. And that's why I took you to 2 Samuel to show you that we can
consume. And that's why I said that possibly we can see some of the things that they were doing back then weren't quite right.
Like what? So you're saying that King David didn't know the law?
I already said I can't say that. Okay, he knew the law though when he sinned those 2 times, didn't he?
But that was counted as a sin against him, and the Most High corrected him on that.
And we know that Rebecca sinned, didn't she?
Well, we're talking about King David.
I said, but you went where you went, I'm going where I'm going. Isn't that right? You just went where you went, I'm going where I'm going. Mm-hmm. We know Rebecca sinned. All humans sin. Is that not right?
Yeah, we all sin.
I said, is that not right? That's a yes, right?
Yes.
So, but is Rebecca's sin noted in the book anywhere?
Which sin are you referring to?
I said, we know she sinned because she was a human being. Is that not right? Is that not right?
Well, again,
all human beings sin. Is that not right?
That's a whole different point.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you a specific question. Okay, then. So we don't see Rebecca's sins noted anywhere in the book, but we know she sinned. Is that not right?
If the Bible didn't mention it, I can't say it.
But we know she sinned. All people sin. Is that not right? Now, you can't have it both ways. You just said yes.
First of all,
I said
we have to deal with what we know.
I said, again, we deal with what's in this book.
We were born in sin. Everybody was born in sin.
But you have to look beyond the book is what I'm saying to you. Everything
now
we're dealing with a transliteration.
We don't have to deal with
we're dealing with a transliteration.
What does that have to do with anything?
Translated by the adversary.
What does that have to do with
But my point is what I just asked you. Rebecca was a human being, so we know she sinned, but no sins that she committed is noted in this book. But we know she sinned, because she's a human being. All human beings sin.
Okay, and you say that's to say what?
Degree.
How do you relate that to what
So I'm just saying, there's certain things, you understand, you look beyond the book. You know it was done, it just wasn't mentioned. It wasn't significant enough for it to be put into the book.
Okay, so
my point again is, it's possible that they did certain things, including David, that was incorrect.
But this is
what I'm saying?
It's mentioned.
Yeah, it's mentioned. And so
I bet you eat swine, it would be considered as a sin against him.
That's absolutely correct.
So how is eating butter and cheese so incorrect that it's not even mentioned as a sin?
I didn't say butter was incorrect.
Well, she ate cheese, and now you
cow's cheese.
He ate cow's cheese. And I asked you before whether or not he could do that, and you said no. And I showed you in the book.
I didn't say he couldn't do that.
You said you hadn't.
I didn't say. I said that it's not implied in Deuteronomy 32 that we can eat cow's milk.
But that's not the dietary law. It's not all things done implied.
How are you going to separate it from that when all Deuteronomy is talking about the law?
Hold on. If you go to Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14 where the dietary laws are mentioned, you're going to see a whole lot of things there that don't show up here. So you're going to say because those things are not mentioned here, that somehow that means that we can't consume them just because they're not mentioned in Deuteronomy 32?
You got a point. Okay.
That's the end of it right there. That was my whole point. That was the whole point. We're going to keep going, but that was it right there. Even he had to even admit I had a point. But that point is the point. But again, that's one of my main problems with Israel. They don't want to accept when their position is wrong. They'll even concede certain things, but they still keep going. That's all the issues I've been having with other teachers comes down to that. The minute you show them something, yeah, brother.
It seems like the brother has mixed the law with his own personal choices. Like for me personally, I choose not to drink milk because it doesn't agree with me.
Right.
But I have never read it in the law.
Yeah.
So he seems to be saying that the law says you shouldn't drink milk, but I've never read that. He doesn't drink it because he says it causes problems with him.
Yeah.
And I understand. I relate to that. But I've never read it in the law.
Exactly. So, and then you see it where he keeps referring to it as in Deuteronomy 32.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you see it there? Because that's his main crush. That's the main basis that he's using. That's what he's hanging his hat on, is what Deuteronomy 32 says or doesn't say. That's his whole crux of his argument.
Well, I love the fact that you pointed out to him the context in the 7th verse. The context is set up when the Almighty says, "Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee." You know, and then the Almighty goes on to outline what happened here. You know, how like an eagle stirs up a nest and flutters over a young. You know, so I led you, and so forth and so on. But it doesn't say that this is the dietary law.
Right. I was relating to the context of it and how that was referring to the prosperity of the land.
Right.
That was my whole point.
Symbolic.
Yeah, you had your hand up?
No, I was just going to say it's symbolic. When it gets down to 14, that's strictly symbolic.
Yeah. And then remember that part when he conceded part of it was. I'm like, well, how are you going to just say part of it is? The whole thing is symbolic.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah, we're going to continue with the rest of it. If you have any other questions, let me know. But it's very interesting.
Entertaining.
The apple is killing me.
Huh?
The apple.
Yeah. Okay. Let me show you some more places. Let's go to Genesis chapter 18. this is dealing with our great patriarch, Abraham. Now, some people say that this was the Heavenly Father himself coming to eat with him. Some people say it was just
Not
3
true.
angels.
That was 3 angels.
Okay, that's why I say some people say
I
either way.
understand that.
But at the bottom line is these were distinguished guests, and we're going to see what they ate. He said, and Abraham hastened, this is Genesis 18, verse 6, and Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the herd. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hastened to dress it, and he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Now, according to you, are you going to say that this is butter and milk of a sheep?
It doesn't say.
Okay. But they were eating milk, but they were drinking milk,
But it
right?
doesn't say.
Okay, but they were drinking milk.
But it doesn't say what kind of milk they were drinking.
Well, you know that he was dealing with cows, because he had a calf and he had a herd.
He could have had sheep too, couldn't he?
Could have had it.
He was a shepherd, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but in this instance,
It doesn't say. You can imply that.
okay.
You might be right,
Mhm.
but it doesn't say.
Okay. But I took you here just to give you some analysis that the circumstantial evidence would point more towards this being a byproduct of a cow as
That's how
opposed to a
you
sheep.
see it, because that's how you want it to be.
No.
It doesn't say that. Doesn't say.
No, granted, it doesn't say specifically,
doesn't.
but we know that he was dealing with cows because he had a
He had
calf.
sheep too.
Okay. But we do
He was
understand
a
that.
shepherd. He had herds.
Okay, but okay, let's assume
And
that
at that time, he was very wealthy.
exactly. But I brought you here for another reason. You said in Deuteronomy 32 that we can consume the milk of sheep. Can we consume the butter of sheep?
It says that.
Okay, but it doesn't say that we can consume butter of sheep, right?
And I've never had it. And
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
Have you?
I've seen butter of sheep.
Okay. I haven't.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. You've had it?
No, I haven't had it,
Oh, okay.
but I've seen it. So it does not mention in Deuteronomy 32, but it's mentioned here that it was butter and milk.
Mm-hmm.
But you are under the belief that we cannot consume cow's milk, but we can consume, and I showed you clearly, we can consume all the byproducts of a cow, including the cow itself, but somehow the milk itself is something that we can't consume. When we can eat the meat of the cow, we can have the cheese of a cow, we can have the butter of the cow.
Well, some people eat the cheese of the cow,
Mm-hmm.
just like Ben with David.
Yeah.
And some other spots you probably gonna see that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I said, you see I had it marked in the book.
Right. So that's why I'm curious.
But that doesn't mean that it was correct.
But how is it incorrect?
Doesn't mean it's correct either.
Okay.
According to 32 Deuteronomy, the way I see it.
I get how you see it, but all I'm saying, and I'm trying to
Because like I just said to you, we know today, okay, maybe they didn't know that back then, but we know today that cow's milk has casein in it, which creates mucus in the system.
Do you think that do you think the Heavenly Father knew that?
Oh, well, I mean, that there doesn't even, that doesn't even make sense to ask me that.
Well, the reason why I'm asking you that is because He gave us the law based upon the things that He obviously knew.
He gave us the law.
Right.
Whatever He says is correct.
Exactly.
Period.
So,
Okay? And so
you're saying that there's certain things that they didn't
so that
know.
goes back.
So it doesn't matter what they knew.
So that goes back to Deuteronomy chapter 32. That's what he says. What you read to me in 2 Samuel, was that 17? That's not what he said. That's just what they were doing. That was my point initially. Okay? But in Deuteronomy 32, that's what he says.
Right. But you have to understand the context in which He said it.
You keep saying that, okay? And, you understand? You can take that way if you so desire. Because Because we're going to come up on this and what you want to talk about again about this Sabbath. How you putting the spin on that? How you want to see it?
Well, when we get to that, we'll see.
We're going to get to that. We dealt with that before. That's unequivocal, but we're going to deal with it so you can have it on record. So you can go back and listen to it, play it for whoever you want to play it for.
But it is unequivocal because you remember last time I was here and you had so much trouble with Exodus chapter 10?
I didn't have any trouble.
Yes, you did.
And you had the trouble.
No, I
so now we at odds, right?
No.
You're saying I had the trouble with Exodus 10. I didn't have trouble with Exodus 10.
Well, we'll see.
I'm looking at it as you had the trouble with it. So now we at odds, right?
Well, look at it this way.
You saying out of your eyes. No, we can't talk at the same time.
Go ahead.
You saying out of your eyes, and I'm saying out of mine. Now, you made the statement that I had trouble with it. I don't see I had any trouble with it.
Okay.
So therefore, I see you must have had the trouble with it because we're at odds. But we're going to deal with it so you'll have it on record and you can listen to it.
Well, I have...
Because before, what I remember before you left here last time, okay, we were in Exodus chapter 12, not 10. And it's specifically plain in chapter 12 about that. But let's finish off with what you want.
Yeah, we're going to go into it because the information that I have out of the scriptures is undeniable. And I'm doing this to help you, Yahudah, because after I show you what I'm going to show you, it's undeniable. And I'm also going to show you
the... It's undeniable to you.
It's going to be to you if you look at the book.
Let's wait until we get there. Let's finish this here first. I want you to tighten this up.
Okay, well, I'm pretty much done with this because you pretty much conceded my point by saying what you said, which is the fact that when you're taking Deuteronomy 32, and I'm showing you, when I took you to Samuel...
What you're showing me, David, is what the people did in 2 Samuel chapter 17. And I said then, it's not necessarily, again, you're telling me what Governor David did. Okay, Yah's the only king. Let's get that straight. All right?
Well,
you're showing me what a human being did. Okay? People sin. We know this.
Well, you show me where that's counted as a sin against
well, again, I'm not going to quibble with that.
You're bringing it
I'm
up.
just saying that we know people didn't do everything all the time that was exactly correct.
But what does that have to do
Even
with
David.
Okay.
But the point being is, in Deuteronomy 32, this is not a human being saying this. This is Yah saying this. That's the difference. Now,
but the reason he's saying it is that to give us a dietary law, or is it just him talking about prosperity? That's the problem that you're having. You're taking Deuteronomy 32.
You're saying I'm having the problem. I don't see I'm having the problem.
I'm going to say this again.
I'm seeing you got the problem. So we at odds again.
Hold on. You just conceded, just not too long ago, you conceded the fact that I had a point when I said, and I'm going to repeat it.
I said you had a point.
Well, here's the point. You're taking Deuteronomy 32 simply because something is omitted. You're taking it as a prohibition, and that is incorrect. There's a lot of things in Deuteronomy 32 that are not mentioned.
What you're saying is that Yah is not mentioning everything in the law.
Because it's not that was not the law.
Okay.
That was not the dietary law given right there.
Okay.
You want to see the dietary law, you go to Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14, Deuteronomy 13.
12.
There's other places too, but I just mentioned those two.
Deuteronomy 32 is one of them.
That's not what the law is.
That's how you see it. So we at odds again.
Okay, but you have to admit that the fact is that there's a lot of things that's not mentioned. If you're going to take something as an omission, as a prohibition, then that's incorrect.
Everything is not mentioned in every place.
Right. Because there's different
context.
context.
The whole book into context, Genesis through Malachi, you see the whole picture.
Of course, we see a picture on a lot of things if you go from that, but if you want to start do it that broad.
That's how we do it. You listen.
Look, we deal with specifics sometimes too.
When you're dealing with Leviticus chapter 11, you don't see anything talked about in regards to wheat.
Yeah, but does that mean we can't consume that?
I said you don't see that there.
Okay.
That's talking about animals, live creatures.
Right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then when you go to Deuteronomy over there in 12 and 14 and 32, you're going to see some more. That's why he said the pure blood of the grape. So you got most people now, Esau's feeding them grape drink, not grape juice. So if they understood that it's the pure blood of the grape, they wouldn't fool with grape drink. With sugar additives, sweeteners, laboratory sweeteners.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So, you get the point? Everything is not mentioned in every spot. You take the whole book into context. Context. The law is from where? Genesis through Deuteronomy, is it not?
Yeah, it means, yeah, the first 5 books is
Do you
law.
see anything about circumcision in Leviticus or Number?
He asked me as a rhetorical question, right? Now, I'm going to try to respond, but he's going to overtalk me. But watch this, because I'm going to say, because he asked me as if to say it wasn't there, right? But watch this.
But it's over in Genesis, is it not?
Yeah,
So we take the whole...
See, I was getting ready to try to tell him it is. He asked me, was it in Leviticus to say that it's not mentioned? He asked me if you don't. He said you don't. Basically, you don't see it there, right? Okay, we'll turn to. I'm just gonna pause. We're almost done with that, but turn to Leviticus the 12th chapter. I was trying to get into it, but he went off into something else. But he asked me that to make his point that somehow it's not mentioned. Did everybody catch that? Okay. In 12th chapter, start at first verse.
And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of the separation for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised.
Shall be what?
And the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised.
So is not Leviticus referring to circumcision? So why would he ask me that? Why would he say, well, you see it in Genesis, but as if to say you don't see it in Leviticus? I tried to tell him, I was like, well, it is, and then he cut me off and just talking about something else. But you see that, right?
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure you caught that.
Text. That's the point. Everything is not mentioned in Leviticus 11 that we can eat.
Well, again, we have to deal with the
everything is not mentioned in Leviticus 11 or Deuteronomy 12 and 14 or 32 that we can eat. Is that not right?
Right.
But it's all part of the law.
Right.
It's all talking about dietary. And so you take it all in perspective. Is that not right?
You're making the same point I'm making. Because you're saying...
The point being is, like I keep saying to you, and I'll say it for I think the 3rd or 4th time, and you go back over your notes and listen to them, okay? That in Deuteronomy is Yah talking. That over there in 2 Samuel 17, that's just what humans did.
Again, just because it's not mentioned in Deuteronomy 32 does not mean that we cannot consume it. That's the bottom
That's how
line.
you see it.
Okay, but that's...
You ready to move on?
We can move on, but I'm just making...
We've exhausted this. You're not going to change me. I'm not trying to change you.
Right.
You've got your sight on how you see it, and I see it how I see it. So you're going to have to proceed like I told you when you was in before, and I've told you before. You got to proceed on what you see. I got to proceed on what I see. Now, we both can be wrong, but we both can't be right. Because we differ.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay. Now, let's get into this whole discussion. Well, let me conclude this. This ends the first discussion with regard to the consumption of milk. Okay, y'all, that's it. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So feedback, I'm going to go around the room. I just want the post-debate with yours truly, Dawiyd versus Brother Yahudah. I just want to get feedback, whatever, honesty, whatever you feel. Start with Sister Keziah back there and go around the room. Try to speak up so we can hear you. She's still laughing.
Well, I see it, brother. He just...
You can be honest.
I'm trying to say it. He's not putting the truth like he should be. He just, he's using the word for his own purpose.
Okay. That's your feeling on it? Like I said, you can be honest, whatever you however you see it.
Yeah.
She would still laugh. You got anything else you want to add?
Y'all go.
Okay. All right, we'll go around Brother Abiel right here.
The brother reminds me of that house of Israel in that, I gotta admit, these brothers, they're much better talkers. And see, the blessing, this class is blessed. I feel blessed because the Almighty has blessed you with knowledge of this book. Everything you coming from the book.
Right.
And see, that's why I feel blessed, because if this is the word of Elohim, then Almighty has blessed you to know His word. That brother is very, very smart and knowledgeable and so forth.
And that's when I say that I learned from him.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking anything away from him, but
He's smart, he's knowledgeable, he's well read, and all that. But on this particular issue right here, it seems like he's getting his personal choices mixed up with what the scripture says.
Exactly.
So that's all I gotta say about it.
Okay, good. Now I definitely respect that, and like I said, I really enjoy the brother. I was, as you can see, I was communicating with him prior to me even breaking off making my own class. I met that brother and it was just incredible. I don't know if I told the story before, or maybe I'll get into this after you guys go around, but I'm gonna give you a little history between me and him. So that's all you got to add to that, brother?
That's all I got.
Okay, good.
I agree with him that there are dietary laws throughout from Genesis to Malachi. But that Deuteronomy 32 and 14, that is strictly symbolic. I see that. He seemed to be stuck on that.
Yeah. Well, not to cut you off, but let's be clear. What other places are there dietary laws?
Well, not laws.
Okay, we gotta be clear, because
okay.
now there are things that are within the context of the law.
Okay.
There's certain animals that are mentioned that we can and cannot eat, but when it comes to him, the Most High specifically telling us what the law is about then you got to go to those particular spots.
Okay.
But there are other spots. There are other spots that refer to the law. But when it comes down to handing us that dietary law, then it's in those spots that I kept referring to: Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14. That's the dietary law.
Okay, I don't mean the law. I mean hints to evidence that this is the right thing to eat.
Exactly.
Say, for example, like Daniel eating pulse and lentils, and other places. That we
Right, or
picked
even
up
like
some
what I
things.
showed him in 2 Samuel the 17th chapter.
Right.
That was a guideline too, but that wasn't law, right?
Right.
I didn't present that as it was dietary law. I was just showing that to show what we could eat,
Right.
or what at least what King David ate.
Right.
So obviously, and that was my point to him, he was eating these things. So, and this was a man after the Most High's own heart. So obviously, and like the point I made to him, if he was eating swine, then that would have been a problem, right? But he kept trying to make it seem like David was in error for doing this. I'm trying to ask him, well, how do you know that? Well, show me how this was counted as a sin against him.
Exactly.
But he couldn't, so that was the point.
So other places, food and drink is referred to in a symbolic sense.
Exactly.
And so you have to distinguish, and I think that 32:14, that is strictly symbolic.
Yeah.
And he's stuck on that. That's not symbolic.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, it's not. I mean, like I said, the brother's very informative, and he's right on certain things. But when it comes to certain things, he really puts, like Brother Abiel said, and he's actually absolutely correct. He's mixing his own desires of things that he wants to do or not do in the law, and he does that a lot. Because we've had debates where I didn't record all of them, but I was just showing them point by point, and I wasn't doing it to try to one up them or try to make it. I'm really trying to help. That's what some of these teachers they really don't understand. They think that somebody's trying to show them up or trying to show off what I know. It's not about that. I wasn't even doing that at that field house over there.
Exactly.
I wasn't trying to make that man look bad. I was trying to help us all.
Yeah, by revealing what's been revealed to you.
Yeah, but they take it personal. They take it as a personal attack. Just like if you take a cup and you overflow it, or if it's already full, you can't put nothing else in there.
Right.
It's going to overflow, right? See, these brothers are already full. They full of themselves. So that's the issue. Okay, anything else you want to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, good. Your Kaziel?
mean, the brother is very knowledgeable. I listen to a lot of his lessons. I know he's very sharp on certain things, but it's like Brother Dawiyd said, it's basically he's taking his own view on what he should or what he shouldn't eat and trying to basically add it to the scripture, to the law. But it's basically my main thing is that he has a viewpoint that, if it's found in Deuteronomy, it has to be the law. It's like, he's discerned. It's not like he's putting emphasis on anything. He said, if you find it in Deuteronomy, it has to be a part of the law, opposed to, just saying, that's like when he made the point, when he said you made a point, it's like, it's hard for people that have, so-called been in the scriptures for so long, or they have become stubborn in their ways. So, for a person to come and show them something different, is just like everything is contradictory to the other person, but there's no coming together at all because of the stubbornness and the blockage of the wall. But I just think that he just like I say, he's very knowledgeable. I have a lot of respect for him. I actually listen to a lot of his lessons on YouTube and on his website. But it's just like right here, this Deuteronomy 32nd chapter. That's why whenever I read a scripture, I try to read before and after just to get an understanding of it. It's like he just read it for what it is and not like reading it for the whole chapter to get an understanding about the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's. And what do you think about that point that when he conceded that part? Because as I went through it and showed him that some of it, he even admitted part of it was symbolic. What do you think about that distinction? And anybody can chime in on this. What do you think about that distinction when he was saying, well, okay, that part is symbolic, and then leaving out the part about the butter kind?
Yeah, that's just like with the House of Israel when you was having that debate, where they was like, well, show me where it says flee from the middle, and then you went specifically to the scripture. Wait a minute, let's just break down that word flee.
Right.
It's just like,
right.
You answered the question, but since the answer wasn't coincide with what they was talking about, they try to discern, well, wait a minute, that might not be what I'm, you know what I mean? It's just like certain things, they try to nitpick in certain things after you have, shows your point and given the scripture to bag up what you're talking about. Well, let's just break this down a little bit more. Now it's wants to be broken down a little bit more because it doesn't back up their point.
Yeah, but when you break it down further and you're going against what it's actually saying, then what are they doing? They're adding to the word.
Adding to the word, yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
See, it's one thing to disagree with me. See, if we're having an opinion, a difference of opinion, okay, fine. But you can't do that with this word. Either you're going to give me a superior interpretation, or you're going to accept what it is. But a lot of people, they want to split hairs when it comes to the word. You can't do that, because then the Most High gonna hold you accountable. So that's the problem. Yeah, brother.
The word explains itself.
Yeah, it does.
And what you did with the brother is you took him to different places. When you went to that 17th chapter, 2 Samuel, that right there should have stopped it right there. Because are you saying that the Almighty would allow his beloved son to eat or drink something that's unclean?
Exactly.
And not correct him? And not at least correct him. Say no.
And they brought it to him, though.
They brought it to him.
Would King David have accepted it?
Would he have accepted it?
Yeah.
When he has sworn that he ain't gonna let nobody live. What's it? That's in the Psalm that I will not know. That's in a wicked person. Like King David he didn't put up with no breaking of the law.
Yeah, and that's when I asked the brother. I said, because he kept trying to insinuate that it was somehow wrong, and I said, well, okay, I bet you if he had ate swine, it would have been, considered a sin. Because he kept saying, well, they did stuff that, everybody sinned, so they all did stuff that maybe wasn't counted. I said, wait a minute, all the David sins was counted, and he was punished for those sins. I said, well, if this was such a sin, then why isn't that mentioned as a sin? I said, I bet you if this was swine he was consuming, that would have been pointed out quick. So how are you going to try to say that he's somehow insinuated he broke the law when the scriptures don't say that? So that was the whole point. And like what Abiel said, he's exactly right. That should have shut it down. I kept going. I mean, there was 3 or 4 points in which he was shut down. But I kept going for the sake of the discussion. But, That's exactly right. That's what a lot of these brothers do. They just continue to talk, and they don't realize that they're violating the word when they do that. And I try to warn them, but yeah, you have to say
one more thing.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes 10th chapter. I don't label this brother a fool because he's wise in many areas. But it says here in the 10th chapter, maybe 12, 13, 14 verses, the words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous madness. A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be, and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? And the fact that you went to different scriptures to make the point that there's nowhere where the law says that milk is against the law.
Right.
And the brother went to one place, and that's it.
Yeah, you noticed that, right? He only had that one scripture.
I was waiting for some more references.
Right. No, you don't have it. All the scriptures you heard coming from me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since the word backs up itself, the Almighty, he don't leave you ignorant if you go from one place to the next. Remember, we read on line upon line, precept upon precept.
Yeah.
Within the scripture and without. Go somewhere.
And let me give you a spoiler. Like before you see a movie, somebody give away certain things. That's a spoiler. Let me give you a quick spoiler. I don't know if you're going to want to hear the day and light debate. But it was the same thing over there. I'm coming with 10, 20 scriptures, and he juggling about 2 or 3. That's kind of how it went. He made some good points here and there, but I'm coming with scriptures. You know how I do it. I'm coming with scriptures. So it was the same thing you just witnessed here, where I'm coming with all the scriptures. What about this brother? Boom, 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 boom. And it's like he just keeps staying on certain scriptures.
And when you make a point, and you say, well, they ain't no in there. And then you go there, well, then he switched the subject. Okay, now let's go. We ain't want to address that now. That's the way you see it. We just read it.
I see it.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's all good points. Yeah, I do respect Abiel's point of view, because I remember when it comes to assessing these brothers, I remember when I first played that debate, well, kind of a debate with Dylan when we went to Cincinnati. I mean, not Cincinnati, when we went to Georgia. And the first time he heard Elkanah, I don't know if you remember this, he said, oh, he sound like Lonzy. You remember that? And what did I do? Because I was still in that brothers phase. I was like, oh, no, he ain't that bad. He ain't that bad. But come to find out, he was right. Elkanah and Lonzy are very similar. They don't understand the scriptures that well, but they're very hard-headed and rebellious. But the first time he heard, because Elkanah said something, I think he was talking about how Elisha, well, what he says is right and can't be challenged or something. Remember that? And when he heard that, he said, he sounds like Lonzy. And I was trying to defend him because, like I said, we were still in that brother phase. And I hadn't, sometimes you blinded by brotherhood. It's like I was still trying to be, I hadn't seen them for what they were at that point. But you didn't know him at that time. So you had first heard him speak, and he's like, well, he sounds like Lonzy. And I was like, no, he ain't that bad. Because to me, that's the worst insult you can give a teacher. You say they like him. Right. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that's true. Because it was all the experience I had with them. Because initially, just like that over there, dealing with the Lonzy over there, I didn't see him for what he was. Because I was still going to him trying to, hey brother, we need to do this, we need to do that. Not understanding how far gone they were. Now, like I said, with Yahudah, I look at him still a little different. Because I know I've had conversations with the brother, and we agree on more than we disagree on. So like I said, he's been very helpful to me and influenced me to do some good stuff. So I would never dismiss him altogether. He's one of the few teachers I still got respect for. So even though I know how that looked, when we debated all that, but there's certain subjects that he's spot on. We'll sit there and we disagree. Because before we start getting into things we disagreed on, when I go to his house, we would sit there for hours and just talk about the world and talk about how everything breaks down. And we just sit there and have great conversations. So even though it seemed kind of confrontational right there, but that's the type of rapport we had because we were very cool with each other. Because he even told me he don't invite everybody to his house like that. Because he talks to a lot of people call him from around the country and around overseas. He even gets a lot of calls. That's why you heard the phone ringing. Even while we were there, that was on Christmas Day, as they say, on a Sunday. So he gets people calling him, but he doesn't have everybody over to his house, but he invited me over. And how I ran into the brother, I saw him, his videos on YouTube, because when I was doing, before I even broke away from that class, I was just seeking and trying to see other people that were keeping the Sabbath and doing all this stuff. And I came across his videos, and I was like, man, one day I'm getting, because I found out he was in Chicago, I said, one day I'm going to get in touch with that brother. But I never did, and I just, got off into something else, and I didn't do it. I was working at a bank. He comes in there. He came into the bank that I work at.
Wow.
He's right there. Hey, brother. And I go up to him. We talk.
Wow.
Yeah, seen your videos. Gave me his card. We talked on the phone a little bit. And one day he invited me to the house. And then he knew about Lonzie already, because he knew Hank from way back. So he was like, he found out where I went. And he was like, yeah. He said, yeah, Brother Caston. He calls Hank Brother Caston. He said, yeah, he told me about this young man named David that, was over there teaching about. I was like, yeah, that's me. So yeah, because he had heard about me, through Hank. He was like, yeah, that brother, he's talking me up, saying how much, how good of a teacher I was, I guess, and word got back to him. But Yahudah knew about Lonzie through him, and he had sent some flyers over there trying to reach out to help, because Lonzie didn't want to cooperate with him, just like with Alicia. So it's like the Most High using me to go back and bond with the people that he was running from. You understand? So, but yeah, it was just ironic how, well, not ironic, but it's just the Most High how we met. Because, like I said, I found out about him, and I was like, yeah, he in Chicago. I need to, hook up with that brother. But I never did. I got off into something else, and then the Most High brought him right there into the bank I was in. Met him right there. He gave me his card. I called him. We talked. And he invited me to the house, sat down, and the rest was history. But yeah, I just wanted to give you that little history on that. Yeah, Kazia, you had some more?
Has this brother ever touched base with the House of Israel, or
yes.
Is he knowledgeable about them? Or?
They did actually. Him and Alicia had a debate.
Wow, really?
About day and night. It's actually on his website. It's on Yahudah's website. I think it's under audio lectures or audio lessons. It's something. You check his website, and it's that's a good debate. They didn't even really finish, but they were supposed to be day and night. Now Yahudah, overall, I think Yahudah was probably on different subjects. He would probably beat Alicia, I think, but Alicia got him on that because his position is wrong. He thinks, because as I said, just like the debate I had, I clearly was showing him, but Yahudah, he just happened to pick the wrong position. He believes that the day starts in the evening. And Alicia was doing the same, hit him with all kind of scriptures, like, when the day starts. And all Yahudah could do was stick on these particular scriptures. Now, he's, like I said, he's very resourceful. He knows a lot of good scripture. He still manages to make good points on certain things, but overall, the point, he's wrong on the overall position. But he refuses to accept the fact that the day does not start in the evening. He that's how he keeps his Sabbath. He keeps his Sabbath from evening to evening. And I've been trying to tell him, I was like, no, Yahudah, and that I went very deep, like the debate we had. Because I said I was over there about 3 or 4 hours, and I went into a lot of scriptures that should have woke him up to that. But yeah, him and Alicia, they knew each other, and they were like butting heads too. Yeah. But at first it was like some brotherly stuff, but him and Alicia. And I always thought they should have gotten along better than they did, but yeah, they knew each other. They knew each other very well. He knew Alicia right before he knew me. They go away with a lot. See, it's just kind of a small. Certain teachers is a small community. Oh, yeah. People know each. You hear about, especially when they start putting stuff on the internet and stuff or things like that. So yeah, they definitely knew each other. And like I said, if you go to his website, Yahudah's website, he has that recording of him and Alicia. They were supposed to have like a part 2 as well. No, I'm sorry. What they were debating on was, can someone leave their house on the Shabbat? But the main debate, they never got to their debate. I had the debate with him that he should have had with Alicia, which is when a day starts. They made some points prior to that, and Alicia still kind of, I think, got the better of him on that, but they didn't go into it. He said, well, we'll say that because they were supposed to have a part 2. And then, but the main debate that they had was based on when can you leave the Sabbath? Can you leave the house on the Sabbath? Because that's another thing I feel Yahudah's wrong on, because he thinks you have to stay in the house on the Sabbath. Even if you're going out to serve the Most High, he thinks, no, you're supposed to be around the book. You can't leave, and that's what he believes. He believes, and he bases that a lot on Exodus 16th chapter. I could easily I never had that debate with him, but I could easily defeat that position. But I debated him with the day and the night thing. But yeah, he makes good points on certain things, but he's caught up in his ways. He definitely has his own way, and he thinks he's right. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about on your comments?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much some of it.
Okay. Yeah, your host.
Everybody pretty much said everything I would say, so.
You can say it your way. Go ahead.
Like I said, I see he's taking for his own purpose, like Brother Bill said, his own diet. So basically, this is what he chose, and he mentioned, that the dietary laws in other places, but he only referred to that one for his own purpose. So, and he kept mentioning, he didn't say that you can't do it, and so it's kind of basically just saying, well, if you do it, you can do it. So, because you mentioned it in 2 Samuel that this is what King David ate, and like you mentioned, if it was something against the law, Most High going be counted for it. So it's like you kept proving him wrong, and he kept trying to dispute it to say, no, it's what you see is not what I see, and we're not gonna see the same. So he kept trying to leave it at that, and just trying to leave it open-ended, because basically it was like somebody else come along with a different opinion. He's not going to change his view what somebody else thinks. He's going to keep to his own understanding. So he just laid it to his own understanding, to his own ways, and just being stubborn about it, and just not, having an open mind to it.
Right, and that's you see, he hits the right term, stubborn. But you know what that's a problem, right? What does the Most High say is about being stubborn? What does he say about it? Anybody know where I want to go? It's a very good place that I've taught you before, which talks about how the Most High views being stubborn. It's very key. I'll give y'all a couple minutes to see if y'all can know where where I want to go. There's a few places, but there's one place in particular.
8th chapter, Proverbs 8 and 13.
Okay, read what you got.
The fear of Yahudah is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate.
Is that it?
Arrogance.
I got Proverbs 6 and 7, 17.
Okay, let me read what you got. Remember, we're dealing with stubbornness, just so you know, right?
These 6 things do Yahudah hate. Yea, 7 are abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, a hand that shed things and blood, heart that defies wicked imagination, feet that be swift in running into mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, he that soweth discord among his brethren.
Is that talking about stubbornness?
Proud look.
No, that's not. We're talking about stubbornness. Those are all good references, but it's not hitting the core of what I want. Anybody
the
else?
word stubborn, right?
Well, I mean, it's just dealing with the concept of stubbornness.
Got Isaiah 15 and 23. Could that be?
Read that. You're looking at Strong's, looking up the word stubborn.
Yes.
Well, let's see if that's it, though. Let's see if we read it.
There's no 15:23.
What did she say?
You said Isaiah.
Isaiah?
If you're going to look at the concordance, make sure you got the chapters and verses right.
I'm sorry, 1 Samuel. ISA.
Okay.
That's 1 Samuel 15:23.
Right. Now,
Nah.
so she went into the concordance to find it, but that's what I was referring to. Go there. Read 1 Samuel.
15:23.
Yeah, read.
Rebellion.
I need to see that was. She don't really get credit for that because she looked it up. I was asking for y'all knowledge because she kind of cheated because you guys were trying to. At least they gave scriptures based on their mind, but she looked it up. But whatever.
They all got many years
Ain't no excuses.
When I have read scripture as many years as all of you all have, I use my reference.
Next time I ask questions,
but everybody else.
yeah, but he at least gave something. He didn't look up no concordance though. But next time I'm gonna rule out concordance use for that. And now when I want you to go to concordance, it's for something else. But when I ask you something based on knowledge of the book, I want you to kind of go. Even if you get it wrong, I just want you to think about putting scriptures in your mind.
Wait, I'm not even sure I've read this before.
Oh, we read this.
No, you read this week. If you haven't read this before, I don't know where you've been.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, go ahead and read it, brother.
For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
For rebellion is what?
Is as the sin of witchcraft.
So when a brother is rebelling, see, look, it's not about me. It's about my bringing the word. If I bring the word to somebody and I'm saying exactly what the word is saying, and the person, I don't take it personal that the person is rejecting me. They're rebelling against the word.
Right.
And the Most High says that's like what?
Is the sin of witchcraft.
It's witchcraft. So they might as well go get what they call it, them boards that they use.
The emery board or something.
Yeah, whatever. But they use these boards to talk to spirits and all that. They're witchcraft. It's like that. So when somebody brings you this word, and then you are rebelling against it, you committing witchcraft. As far as the Most High is concerned. Now, what does he say about stubbornness?
And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry.
He said, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. So it's just like you might as well worship Christ. If you're going to be stubborn with this word. So you got to be careful. If somebody's bringing you this word and they telling you exactly what the Creator's saying and you don't want to hear it and you're showing yourself to be stubborn against that, you are committing idolatry. Because instead of Christ, who are you worshiping? You're worshiping yourself.
Right.
Because now you think you know so much that can't nobody dare show you anything. And like I said, it happens a lot with these teachers. And like I said, I got a lot of respect and everything for Yahudah, but I see that in him. He doesn't have an open enough mind.
I like when you mentioned to the brother when he said something about casein or something, and you actually said, "Well, didn't the Creator know about that?"
Right. Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I'm not going to address that, but just the fact that they brought unto King David the milk." And King David obviously consumed it. So is the brother saying that he's wiser than King David?
He's saying something like that. I mean, he's saying something that obviously is transcending the law. And I don't know if you caught it, but he said a couple of times, sometimes you got to go beyond the book. Did you catch that? He said that a couple of times.
That was your book say. That's what your book say.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was just talking about, he started getting into the translation, and we know this book's been tampered with. No, and he does that a lot, too. Sometimes when I was debating him in the past, because I've shown him things that just, boom, dead on, that's what it is. He's like, well, you know they tamper with the book. But wait a minute, brother. And one time I had to tell him, I think it's on that debate with the day and the night. Actually, yeah. I think it is. If you hear that debate, you'll hear a point in which I put him in a corner, and then his thing was, well, you know they tamper with the book. I'm like, wait a minute. You can't say that they tamper with the book every time I show you wrong on something. Well, how about all the things you think? How come that's not tampered with? But you want to say it's tampered with the book when I make a point that's going against what you think. So again, that's why you got to be careful. And that's why, like I said, when I'm interacting with other teachers that I still have some type of respect for, I'll try to talk to them and try to help them get a different perspective. But I always run into the same thing. I always run into this rebellion and this stubbornness, especially when they're an elder like him. He's an elder to me. He's older than me. But and sometimes it might be hard for him to accept structure from a younger man than him.
Stuck in his own way.
Yeah, because most of the people he comes around, they he has a lot of people that look up to him and people that listen to him from around the world. He has he has his little show out there and people call in from all over. So he's very knowledgeable, as you guys can attest to.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
People listen to him. So he doesn't often come into contact with somebody who knows something that he doesn't when it comes to this word. And when he does, a lot of them can't accept it.
Right.
And so rather than accepting that they could be wrong about something, they go through all this dancing that they do, and that's,
Yeah, it was reminding me of when Moses' father-in-law brought him, the information that said, you take too much on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And Moses hadn't considered that, because the Almighty had chose him to lead Israel out of Egypt. So obviously he was close to the Almighty, but Jethro brought him some information that he didn't know.
Exactly. Right.
You need to split up the responsibility. Yeah,
and Moses didn't take the position, well, I'm Moses.
I'm Moses.
You can't tell me. I'm talking directly face to face with the Creator. How you gonna have Jethro gonna tell me something? But that's a good point. Jethro, while he was not overall maybe as wise as Moses, but he knew something he didn't. And so you can learn something from anybody.
Right.
That's the point. And the thing that makes somebody have knowledge is you have to, number one, fear the Most High enough to be humble enough to where you keep yourself always open to learn. So once you didn't close, it's just like that cabbage or lettuce or whatever. Once it grows, it closes on itself and it never opens back up. In order to get it open, you gotta what? Cut it open. Lettuce, once it's closed up, it's closed, and that's how people do. They close their mind up, and then unfortunately, the Most High because you see what He think about stubbornness and rebellion. So unfortunately for the brothers, if they have gotten into this zone where they feel like they can't be corrected, and especially when they're in positions of being teachers, then they're causing people to err, and they're making themselves a target for the Creator, because He's gonna hold you accountable, especially you a teacher, because a teacher should be the best student. Because if you're a teacher and you are responsible for what other people are, they're going to you for knowledge. Guess what? The Most High is looking at you. Now, the students are accountable if they are rebellious towards your teaching. So if I'm teaching you the truth, and then you as a student, if you just, oh man, I don't want to listen to that. Now you being rebellious.
Right.
Just like when I was over there. I was over there teaching them, just like I'm teaching y'all, just like I taught you guys. So their response was different. Their response was being stubborn and rebellious, including the teacher over there. So that's what's going to hold them accountable. But if a teacher is standing on what they believe, and they're ignoring what the Creator is saying, and they're misinforming people because they can't. Because remember, the thing that's dangerous about someone like Yahudah is that he's influential.
Right.
He has somebody that's listening to him. He has people that esteem him. So when he says something, they're going with that. So you got to be very careful as a teacher what you believe and what you're teaching, and you got to stick to the word. Because once you go off and you start going off into your own tangents, then you're an idol worshiper now, and then you got other people worshiping you, because you got people, you're taking them away from the Creator. Just like Yahudah got people keeping the Sabbath in the evening, from evening to evening. You got people staying in their house on the Sabbath. You got people saying that they can't drink milk unless they're breaking the law. Mm-hmm. You got people thinking they can't eat chicken unless they're breaking the law. You got people thinking they can eat turkey unless they're breaking the law. This is what he has.
Right.
And that's what these people, and they're thinking that if they do these things, they're breaking the law. That's holding these people in bondage.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You basically, that's what happens when a man goes away from the Most High's word. You understand? So it's like a bondage. It's like a form of slavery. Just like those people that field house over there, that think that they can't keep the law, or thinking that they have to worship this Son of God, or they're going to go in a lake of fire, or whatever. That's bondage.
Right.
So again, it's very important that a teacher understand exactly what the Most High is saying, so he can disseminate that to the people. And if you rebel as a teacher against the Most High's word, then he going to deal with you. Read Jeremiah 25. That's what he talks about in there. Talk about the principles of the flock. In fact, I'll go into probably that part of it when we come back. I'll just take a quick break. Give you about 10 minutes. We'll come back about 2:30. If you guys want to get some water or whatever.